Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Previously, in our previous lecture, we learned something about the business letters, its difference from normal social letters, how to begin it, and what are its requirements. After doing all that back work, homework, now we are going to know about the seven essential parts of a business letter. I mean, what is the real content of a letter? Now, we are going to discuss that. First one is outside address, second is date, third is inside address, fourth one is subject line. I have put it in green. I'll discuss when I'll go to that slide. Then salutation, body, and complementary clause. So moving on to first one, which is outside address. This can also be called the heading. Outside address is basically your address. When you are writing a letter, your address is outside address. Your address may be personal one, like in few letters earlier on. To give you this example, I'd like to remind you earlier on in your exams, when you are learning to write letters and you have written letters in your exams at intermediate level or metric level, you have used this term examination hall. So it can tell you clearly that while you were writing examination hall, then you were sitting in the examination hall and you were writing a letter. So you were the person who was writing the letter and your address was the examination hall. So that's how this is your outside address and you are putting it over there. Now if you are part of any company and being the part of that company or organization, you are writing a personal letter, you're writing, sorry, a business letter. So then you can put in on the address ABCD over there, whatever the address is. One way of outside address is this one. Another one, most of the time, being the part of any organization, we are writing the letters on the letterhead, and letterheads already carry heading with it. So it contains the heading. As you can see in many letterheads, there is the heading which contains the company's logo and contact information, address, etc., each and everything. So when you are writing on a letterhead, the business letter, then you need not write again any personal address, because that is the same address that is given in the heading. So we need not to duplicate it. So that is called heading or outside address. Basically, heading or outside address is our own address while we are writing a letter. Then second thing is date. After the outside address, you may leave one indent, I will discuss later on, and you can write down the date. Date may be written in this style or in this style, because business letters are a bit formal, so that's why we need to choose any of these formal styles instead of these informal styles. So we need to avoid these informal styles in our business letters while we are writing the date. Whenever we are writing the letter, we need to mention the date on it. Date is very important in the business letter, because your every correspondence has usually a record in its diary. When you are sending to other company, your own company, its record is kept, and record is kept on the basis of the letter number and the date. And date is very important, because letter number may be same one but the dates may vary. So that's why you need to mention the date, but you need to mention in any of these two style, but not mention in this style. This is very informal and casual style, so you need to avoid this one. Then there is inside address. Inside address is basically the address of your receiver. This is receiver's address. So when you are writing, you know the designation of the person who you are addressing. If you know the designation, then you can write the address in this way, the designation here, the manager production, ABC Industries, Islamabad. This is the address. So this is the inside address. Whoever is being addressed, his address, his designation or his name is mentioned in this part. This is basically the third part. First one was heading, second one was, here we can mention date, third you may leave one indent because these are the separate segments. Third one is inside address. Then the fourth one is subject line. Subject line, usually it is said that this is not the necessary part or essential part of the business letter, but in my opinion this is very important in the business letter. Why this is very important in the business letter? Because earlier on we have discussed that they want to go through the bottom line quickly. They have a very limited time and our audience would like to go through the bottom line quickly, and your subject basically give the direct clue to that bottom line. So this subject, which is the fourth one, this basically gives the clue to that bottom line quickly, so they need not to go through each and every word of the letter. When they go through the subject, they know the matter, and then they can go, if they are short of time, they can go to the detail and they can put on the things over there. Now rather than telling you a kind of scenario, I have put the kind of question here, like you need to write a letter to ABC company to get the price list or quotation of few required items. Now how you can put the subject line, mean write a letter, this is the company's name, mean this is, you can say, the inside address, and what is the purpose? To get the price list. Here when you are writing the subject line, you need not to use the complete sentence. Complete sentence is not required, but a phrase and understandable phrase which give almost the sense and meaning, you should use that one. Like a heading in your subject line, mean for this purpose you can use this price list. Now you are making it more specific, price list of lab items, you can use this one, or you may use quotation letter as well. So these both subject lines may be used, and when your reader will be reading this, he can understand easily, okay, this letter is about the price list, this letter is about the quotation list, and sometime boss directly mark the letter to the specific person who can provide the list, so it is saving the time. That's why I feel that it is imperative in business letter we should use subject line. Now in this subject line, you can see here in blues I have put these words, these first letters. This is another important thing, that except prepositions, you should use the capital letters for every word. Mean for price, P is capital, for list, L is capital, for lab, L is capital, for item, I is capital. Whereas of is a conjoining word, so that's why we are not using O capital, but here in the second one you can see Q is capital and L is capital. So this is another thing, while you're writing the subject line, this should be a phrase, understandable phrase like heading, and first letter of every word is capital except, capital letter except prepositions. Then body. The body of the letter is based on the three things. First is introduction. We need to introduce the subject matter, your company or yourself when you are writing to the other company. If you are writing in your own company, then you need to introduce the subject matter. So introduction of the subject matter is the first thing, and it also tells what is the real story behind this letter. Then details of the subject matter. For example, you are writing a quotation letter or price list letter. So introduction, you in introduction you are writing that it is stated, or this letter is written to get is being written to get the price list of the items. Then details of the subject matter, here you will discuss that we need the following items. Then you can enlist those items in a table, or you can write out that we need these items in the paragraph form. If they are very few, then in a paragraph form you can give the detail of the subject matter. And at the end, you may conclude. You should conclude in courteous way, and you should use please, thank you, and like this one. And usually you can use the sentences like looking forward, or waiting for your positive response, thank you, or thanking in anticipation. So these kind of uh, sentences may be used in concluding or prompting paragraph. This is also called concluding because this is concluding. And why called prompting? Because it is prompting, or it is basically forcing your receiver to give the response quickly. So that's why concluding and prompting paragraph is almost the same one. So after that concluding paragraph, you may put in the complementary clause. Complementary clause is like, maybe like yours in business letter, you may use yours truly, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, but please, for God's sake, you must not use yours obediently. And even in your application nowadays, it is very important that you should not use obediently. Obediently is why you are so much obedient. It is so much slavish kind of expression. It's look like that you are begging, you are so much down. So yours obediently, I don't recommend it. Don't never use yours obediently, because it is the common practice in schools. It is taught yours obediently, obediently, obediently. So you need not to be used here obediently. Then you may use any of these expression. I may prefer this one. uh, Sincerity is rare in the world nowadays, but being diplomatic, you may use sincerely. And faithfully you can also use, but we need not to be so faithful. So I do prefer yours truly. You may use yours sincerely as well. You may use yours faithfully, but it's your own choice. Now, while we are using the complementary clause, usually what I have noticed, mostly students, they made this kind of mistake that they use apostrophe here in yours. So in the letter, while you're using the word yours, you need not to use this apostrophe. That's why I put it this one in red color. So yours is wrong in this section. You keep it like here in the small letters, and you need not to put this apostrophe. This is wrong one. And sometimes while they're writing yours truly, so they do remember the spellings of true like this one, so they put truly like this one. So here e is not here available, and you need not to use e here. Yours truly is truly, and in yours you need not to use apostrophe. So this is about the 7 essential parts of a business letter. In the next one, we'll discuss the punctuation styles, open punctuation, close punctuation, and we'd also like to discuss about the different formats of letters and any other things which are remaining or non-essential parts of the letter. So thank you very much for today's lecture. Allah Hafiz.